Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Does the microphone have an on and off switch? Is that it right here? How do you turn the microphone off?
Off?
Yeah. We have to hold it. Okay, now I know how to do it so I don't make up so much noise. When you age, you don't like noise as much as you did when you were young. So I thought we would talk. You're going to translate it into Chinese. Oh, we're going to do it that way. Okay. I guess that. That makes me change my plan. Okay. So we're going to try to talk a little bit about the modes of material nature, but I wanted to do it a little more thoroughly, but now we have double classed with the translation, so we'll have to abbreviate it.
咁媽住咧今日想講關於呢個物質自然形態度，咁由於媽住開頭冇預計要翻譯，咁可以諗住如果冇翻譯就可以講多啲啦。咁而家有啲翻譯嚟講變咗要講得係簡短啲。
Most of us know that the mode of goodness is superior to the mode of passion and ignorance.
咁大家都知道啦，呢個善人形態嚟講咧，比基情態、完美形態嚟講係優越嘅。
What I'm looking for is right here. So, the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is entitled The Three Modes of Material Nature.
咁第14章嚟講咧，就係講到個物質自然三形態。
So the first verse says, Krishna tells Arjuna, "Again I shall declare unto you this supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge," and then the conclusion, "knowing which all the sages have attained the supreme perfection." So this is the result of this knowledge, that we will attain the supreme perfection.
咁啊 ，Krishna 呢個第一章嘅第一個枝節咧 ，Krishna 講我要再次向你講解呢個至上、至高無上嘅哲學最好嘅知識。掌握咗呢個知識智者嚟講，就會達到係至高嘅無上完美嘅境界。咁呢個就係嗰個目標，最後嚟講達到完美嘅境界。
So here is the beginning of this teachings, which is text number 5 and 14th chapter. Material nature consists of three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. When the eternal living entity comes in contact with nature, he becomes conditioned by these modes.
咁呢個係嗰個章節嘅開始嘅第一章，跟住就去到第二個詩節咧，就介紹呢個物質嘅自然形態。如果物質自然形態嚟講咧，有善能激同埋完美三種形態。 嘅生物嚟講咧，就實物啲物質將與物質自然係接觸嘅時咧，就受到呢啲咁嘅形態係控制住。
Now we're going to go through the gradation. I think everybody here will know this. The mode of goodness is purer than the others, and it is illuminating, and it gives us freedom from sinful reactions. That's the result of the mode of goodness.
咁善形態咁純粹嗰度啦，俾我哋能夠係擺脱呢個物質自然嘅影響嗰度，呢個就係善形態嗰個特點。
But the snag, or you know snag? Yeah. The snag in that is that it conditions us to a sense of happiness and knowledge. Like the philosophers, they have this sense of knowledge, and they feel themselves a little superior, and they gain happiness from that knowledge. They're a little bit better.
但係呢個嚟講，亦都係有一個叫做係俾我哋個掣肘，好似你話，當俾捆綁我哋喺個善形態，就感覺到呢個形態入邊所俾我哋嘅快樂，好似啲哲學家度話我有呢個知識嚟講咧，我就係好快樂，係比人哋好啲嘅。
So if we feel ourselves full of knowledge and happy, we know what mode of nature we're in, right?
咁當我哋處於咁嘅形態嚟講咧，我哋就覺得自己好快樂度啦。咁其實我哋當呢個節形態
And we feel free of sins.
咁你係遠離呢個罪惡啦。
It's nice we get this, like, I don't like rewarding people for doing activities, but this is a reward. Krishna is giving us a reward for entering into this type of lifestyle, the mode of goodness. And that is that we become freed of sinful reactions, and that we become conditioned by happiness and knowledge.
咁就係 Krishna 俾我嗰個佢就係報酬俾我哋。當我哋係最有個善形態嚟講啦，我哋係免於呢個罪孽咁樣，然後亦都係從中嚟講咧，我哋係會得到呢個知識嘅快樂。
Now, before we enter into the mode of passion,
當我哋係講到進入呢個激情形態嘅時候咧，
there's something about the mode of passion, or about these three modes, that we should recognize.
咁我哋譬如講到喺呢三個形體上嚟講咧，咁我哋要先認識到呢啲嘢。
And that is, our goal isn't the mode of goodness.
咁我哋個目標其實唔係話淨係去到善良形態。
It's a temporary goal. In other words, we want to situate ourselves in that environment, but that's not the ultimate goal. We want Suddha-sattva. We want pureness.
咁其實即係呢個善形態嚟講，即係短暫嗰度，唔係我哋最終嘅目標。我哋最終嘅目標嚟講咧，就係想去到純善良嘅純善良嘅形態。
Because what happens when we're situated in that mode of goodness, again, we have a sense of happiness, and we have this, this ability to gain knowledge, this freedom from sins, which will bind us in this world. We become freed from that instant karma reaction. But the problem is, we have to come back if we're situated in the mode of goodness.
咁即使我哋處嘅善形態嚟講咧，我哋係有呢方面知識啦，我哋從中得到快樂啦，係擺脱呢個唔做呢個罪孽活動咯。但係你仍然我哋係由於呢個善形態嚟講，我哋會要翻到你個物質世界嗰度。
I lose my train of thought when the translation. I'm doing my best. This is an example Srila Prabhupada gives. Good karma or bad karma. They're both bad.
咁正確派講舉個例子喺度啦，咁無論係好或者係壞業報嚟講，都係唔好。
I won't say good karma or bad karma. We'll say pious activities and impious activities. They all fall under an umbrella of that which is, what would you say, forcing us to remain in the material energy.
咁我哋唔講話叫做係好或者壞，我哋只係講話奇性活動或者非奇性嘅活動。但係呢啲咁嘅活動嚟講，都會係將我哋擺個環境嘅氣氛嚟講，就喺呢個物質自然態底下。
So one may give us a little better advantage in the next life or in this life, and one may give us a disadvantage, but they're all disadvantages because they're forced to come back into this material world again.
咁有啲人或者係做呢啲活動嚟講，會係比較有利於係下一世或者呢一世喺度。咁所以無論係有利又好或者冇利唔好都好啦，但係都係被逼係要翻嚟呢個物質世界，投生呢個物質世界。
So we'll touch upon the mode of passion now, which is text number 5.
咁我哋如果講到第5個先直接講到呢個激情言行。
Oops, excuse me, number 6. Number 7. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings. And because of this, the embodied living entity is bound to material fruitive activities.
咁激情屬性嚟講咧，係嚟自無盡嘅慾望啦，同埋渴望度。咁物質嘅軀體嚟講咧，就係啲生物嘅物質即係受到功利性嘅物質活動捆綁。
We see that quite prominent in this world, isn't it?
咁係咪我哋其實喺物質世界嚟講都好普遍係見到呢方面嘅。
Unlimited desires and longings.
無盡嘅慾望同渴望。
Anybody here have any desires, unlimited desires, or maybe less than unlimited desires, or any longings? Anybody have any of that in this world?
呢啲在座有冇啲而家即係頭先講到嘅，即係有無盡嘅渴望或者係唔係咁多嘅慾望或者渴望，有冇在座啲人有咁體驗咧？
We see the heads moving.
咁我睇到嚟講啲人開始有舉動咁樣。
So this can be overcome. They all can be overcome by the practice of Krishna consciousness, but it's better for us while we practice devotional service, it be situated in that mode of goodness.
咁當然我哋收集 Krishna 知覺嚟講，我哋完全可以超越呢三種嘅形態。但係我哋開始嚟講收集嚟講咧，最好都係由處於善人形態係着手。
And the reason is because in that mode of goodness, it was described that the perk was that we become conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge. In that knowledge, we don't find ourselves aspiring for material desires or having what you call material longings. We have the intelligence to separate ourselves out from that.
因為從善嘅形態嚟講，我哋係學到呢方面嘅知識喺度，咁呢啲知識係幫助我哋咧。唔會追逐呢啲咁無盡嘅慾望或者係渴望。
1 second. Hopefully it works. It's Ayurvedic. I think it's Ayurvedic. Yeah, it says Ayurvedic. All our desires end up in frustration.
我哋所有嘅慾望最後嚟講咧，都係帶到我哋俾我哋一個叫做係絕望。
Say we desire something. Actually, they all result in lamentation.
咁我哋識得到我哋嘅嘢嚟講，最後嚟講都係令到我哋嚟講係唔得到滿足啦，係跟沮喪。
Say, for example, we have a desire. Say a young man wants to get a car. He has a desire to get a car.
有個年青人喺度啦，咁我哋想係有一部車啦。
So he either achieves that goal, or he doesn't achieve that goal.
佢或者會真係達到個目標，或得到架車，或者係達唔到佢嘅目的嘅。
But the nature of that object, the car, cannot satisfy one spiritual, what you call it, desire, the spiritual nature of the self.
但係呢個目的或者呢個目標嚟講架車嚟講咧，係唔能夠滿足到一個靈性嘅方面嘅嘢。
So if the person doesn't get it, they just lament. And if they do get it, after a while, it just seems like something, it wears out, it becomes old, it gets broken, it gets crashed, so many different things. And so no matter which side we end up on, it always ends up in sadness or lamentation or all these interesting words.
咁我哋得唔到嗰時嚟講係唔開心喺度啦，傷心。 但係當你得到嚟講，你都唔係好事，因為架車冇幾耐嚟講咧，就會係會破舊喺度啊、殘舊啊，或者係毀壞啊、損毀喺度。咁無論得到唔得到，最後嚟講都係令到我哋唔開心或者係沮喪。
I think I quoted a verse on Sunday, Yehi sangsparshaja boga dukkha yonana evate, that those who are little intelligent, they don't invest themselves in the objects of the senses with their knowledge and working acquired senses, because they know that that is a source of misery. Because if we get it, we're going to become attached, and it's going to carry us into another life, and if we don't get it, we're going to limit.
咁我記得我星期日都係引用嗰個詩詞喺度嘅，咁我哋唔應該係追求一啲感官上面嘅所謂嘅目標喺度，呢一啲嘢嚟講係短暫喺度啦。咁無論我哋得到嚟講，最後嚟講咧，我哋再投生呢個物質世界喺度。
Has anybody ever experienced the mode of passion?
大家有冇體驗過嗰度激情嗰個屬性係點嘅咧？
And just imagine, I walk down the street. First of all, it's quite dangerous to walk down the street in Hong Kong because everybody's looking at their phone and nobody knows who. It's like you could get bumped into at any moment.
咁其實我喺香港行街嗰啲好小心啦，都幾危險，因為當你行到街嚟講，個好似你揸住個手機喺度睇喺度，即係隨時撞到，俾人撞到都唔出奇。
But you can just see the energy. The energy is just like spinning and spinning and spinning.
咁我睇到嚟講呢種嘅能量嚟講，嗰種能力嚟講咧，不斷喺周圍嚟講係運轉緊、運作緊嘅。
I was watching a devotee thing on my computer, and my computer knows I say the word Hong Kong many times a day, so it sent me to a short video on why Hong Kong is such a good place to live.
咁我睇嗰個短片嚟講咧，就講到就係譬如係講到香港呢度啦，咁入邊嚟講馬上你有一個已經彈出嚟嘅就係講話點解香港咁好嘅地方咧？
So there was a person who was 83 years old. He moved here in 1965, and was living here for like whatever it was, 40, 50 years.
咁一個你講係1965年嗰時已經係住香港度啦，搬咗嚟住咗成40-50年喺度，而家80幾歲啦。
He said that Hong Kong's the best place.
咁係香港嚟講係最好嘅地方。
Because no matter what you want to get into, no matter what your desires are, you can always find them fulfilled in Hong Kong.
喺香港嚟講咧，無論想要啲乜嘢，就算得到咩嚟講咧，你喺香港嚟講都可以係得到你自己嘅要嘅嘢。
He says, here I am living on the edge of the Hong Kong city. And within 10 minutes drive, I can be in a forest that has paths that I've never even been on before. There's just so many pathways and this and that, and I can enjoy in the forest.
咁啊，住喺一啲有邊陲嘅地方度啦，咁揸車嘅10分鐘、10分鐘，你即係去到譬如中心又好，或者咩地方我自己想去嘅，好多地方我都可以透過揸車我就去到自己想去嘅地方。
And if I want to get he didn't use the word passion, but if I want to get passionate, all I got to do is go down to the city, and it's so active and so passionate, and you can just bump into so many different things. It's such a great place to live.
又好似譬如你去親下熱鬧喺度，可以走去啲旺嘅地方喺度啊，行去市區中心喺度啊，香港就係咁嘅地方喺度，見到啲人係充滿活力喺度。
This reminds me when I used to do books distribution in Florida.
咁我就呢方面你就諗起，我就記得我喺科羅達州度嚟講係派書。
They have these rest plazas. Do they have those in? Where you can pull off and get a little rest or use the bathroom on the highway. So we used to sell books in those places.
咁個地方嚟講就係喺個即係啲旅館嘅，即係因為喺嗰度嚟講可以係煮啊、沖涼嗰度。咁通常我哋會住嘅地方嚟講咧，喺高速公路嗰度嚟講係派書喺度嘅。
So when you're going south into Florida, everybody's enthusiastic, eager. They're just waiting to get into the illusion of the mouse, Mickey.
咁啊，當我哋係去科羅達州去南嗰時，大家都好熱情、好激情、好熱情咧，就去到嚟講嘅，想睇到啲
You've heard of Mickey Mouse?
即係講話馬奇老鼠。
But on the way back, they're all lamenting. And we worked both sides. We worked the southbound and we worked the northbound. And so on the way back, they're all disgusted.
但係當佢哋轉翻入翻喺北上嗰時嚟講，大家就變咗係唔係咁開心。
Because they thought they were going to have their desires fulfilled by going to Disney World or Epcot or whatever it is, but it didn't work.
佢哋諗住嚟講，就譬如佢哋可以去到係迪士尼樂園嗰度嚟講可以玩得開心，佢哋滿足佢哋嘅願望咁樣嗰度，但其實唔係咁樣，唔係咁樣係人得到滿足。
There was a time in the early 80s when those who were in charge of developing the Mayapur, and even the TOVP words were then, but it was like the beginning stages. They hadn't even done anything.
咁喺早期80年代嗰時講，好似譬如佢哋係開始係摩耶普嗰個計劃嗰時嚟講咧，咁就算呢個天文學館嚟講都未正式開始，大家都係有個概念，但係未正式實際係做啲一啲嘅建設出嚟嘅。
So all the leaders were coming. So one time there was one leader coming, and I had another person ready to pick him up and take him out to Epcot, because Epcot was the place he wanted to go. But he got sick, so I had to take him out to Epcot.
咁有次有啲領導嚟喺度啦，咁佢嗰度嚟講係因為佢本身有啲如果就係事實上，但係有咗病咁度，變咗我就變咗走去接佢喺度。
Interesting. We pulled in, and this is what Mayapur wanted to do. They wanted to figure out how they park and get people to move so efficiently, because there's going to be millions and millions of people out at Mayapur. So they're trying to figure out how this works.
咁由於嚟講，摩耶普嚟講開始啲人越多喺度啦，佢又喺度諗嚟講點樣嚟講一批一批人啲人流嚟講點可以係疏導咧？我諗下點樣可以做得到咧？
So they have these long rows. You just drive down, you have to turn to the left, and there's just row after row. Each row has like 100 cars they can park on.
咁嗰時講好多條路啦，每一條路嚟講咧就成排長龍，好多車成百架車喺度排晒喺度。
And the car that was in front of us, they became bewildered. They confused. Actually, it was an older lady, and she got confused. And so the parking people immediately stopped, and they took us. We went all the way down to the end of a new line, because they wanted to keep the cars moving. It didn't matter what, they were going to keep the traffic moving.
前面嚟講呢個泊車嘅教練女仔嚟講佢覺得好混亂喺度，唔知點做喺度。於是嗰個入邊停車場嘅職員，你馬上即刻將我哋帶到去另一條龍嗰度，因為佢想係嗰個流暢啲喺度，唔想係停咗喺度一個點嗰度停咗喺度。
So my friend had given me his fancy car to take this Swami to the Epcot.
咁我因為我朋友嚟講隻好靚嘅車喺我度啦，咁叫我哋接送媽住去個機場嗰度。
Until we parked way at the end, and when we came back out, we noticed that exactly where we were supposed to park, a small, like 2-passenger aircraft crashed right where our car was supposed to be.
佢話我哋後尾泊咗喺我尾嗰度，跟住翻嚟到，喺度嚟講咧見到係嗰個位嗰度嚟講係撞到車喺度嘅。
I don't know if this had too much to do with the modes of material nature, but it's just the modes of material nature are working.
咁你喺度嚟講呢個就係其實物質自然形態嚟講做緊嘢喺度嘅，啲人嚟講係處於極自然形態之後撞車。
You go inside Epcot, I had the idea, go to the end first before you go to the beginning, because everybody's lined up in the beginning and nobody's at the end, and by the time they get to the end, nobody will be at the beginning. We beat the system.
咁好多人嚟講淨係爭先，佢全部排晒前面，反而尾嗰度係冇乜人嘅排喺度嘅。咁其實我哋講就逼調翻轉嚟講，就尾嗰排可能係冇咁多人喺度。
When we walked in, there was like a clicker, like not a clicker, but like this thing that was adding up numbers, big thing. That was the number of people that were taking birth at that second in the world.
咁佢有個地方嚟講，組織一個計時引督啊，咁喺度係做緊統計，咁跳下喺度，咁差唔多喺1秒嚟鐘已經好多可以計算得好多人嚟講係已經投生㗎。
We noticed it didn't have a counter that was talking about all the people that were dying in the world that day.
咁我哋其實亦都係講唔出或者計算唔到究竟而家世上嚟講每一秒嚟講有幾多人嚟講係離世。
Thank you for coming. Hopefully we'll see you before you leave. Okay? Okay. Oh, you have a dinner program. Oh, I remember now. Thank you, thank you. But you can see this desire, so many hankerings, so many longings when they're there. They're just trying to squeeze out some kind of enjoyment that's not there. There's an example in the Bhagavatam that says, if somebody's already taken all the juice out of the sugar cane, and they spat it out, and somebody tries to pick it up and try to get more sweetness, it doesn't work. In the same way, the same things happen when you're in these kind of environments. It just doesn't work.
咁啲人嚟講，上次嚟講去啲某一啲情況嚟講，盡量係揸取一啲所謂嘅從中得到呢個快樂喺度。咁喺博吉亞談嚟講，亦都係舉咗咁嘅例子喺度。譬如一支蔗喺度啦，有啲人其實已經係將支蔗嚟講揸晒汁出嚟喺度，但係仍然你有啲人嚟講見到你嗰隻另外啲蔗渣嚟講咧，係再咬落喺度，希望當中嚟講仍然可以揾到啲快樂喺度，但係其實係冇可能。
I think everybody in here speaks English now, right? Oh, okay. Sorry. Just trying to save a minute. So now we enter into the next mode, mode of ignorance.
咁而家我哋係進入講愚昧形態。
The mode of darkness, born of ignorance, is the delusion of all embodied living beings. The results of this mode are madness, indolence, and sleep, which bind the conditioned soul.
嚟自無知嘅愚昧屬性，使一切生物由物質軀體嘅生物產生幸福。這種屬性使人瘋狂、懶惰和昏昏欲睡，這些都是束縛受制嘅靈魂。
What happened to my marker? Okay. So, this mode of ignorance, anybody ever felt like the mode of ignorance overcome them? Where you just,
Everybody.
it's just like, I mean last night I didn't get very much sleep, so I took a nap. And I took a really good nap. And then I woke up, and then I said, you know, that was really nice. Let me take a little bit. So the mode of ignorance was just multiplying this morning. But when I finally woke up, I it worked out okay.
咁包全部對象其實好多人都會感受過愚昧形態係點樣嘅，好似譬如第一次嚟講，我有瞓到好多，跟住嚟講係瞓翻個好覺，咁起身嚟講就有啲咁嘅昏昏欲睡咁嘅感覺。
So then the next section, on text number 10, it describes how the mode of goodness and passion and ignorance are always they're always in competition. Passion or goodness overcoming passion and ignorance, passion overcoming goodness and ignorance, ignorance overcoming goodness and passion. So there's always this struggle for the different modes in nature, and they're like the verse says they're competition for supremacy. It's like they almost exist as of themselves, as a separate entity, but we bring those things upon ourselves.
咁跟住嗰個詩節嚟講就講到愚昧呢三種形態嚟講咧，成日想係爭先嚟講我做主導地位嘅，咁好似善嘅形態嚟講咧，想係超越做主導嚟贏咗呢個激情形態同埋呢個愚昧形態。而激情形態嚟講，有嘗試嚟講係佔主導地位啦，係超越咗呢個善形態同埋愚昧形態。而愚昧形態嚟講，嘗試嚟講咧，住一個主導地位係超越咗係善形態同埋呢個激情形態喺度。咁呢形態嚟講，想諗自己嚟講係超越，諗住自己係可以獨立過嚟影響到其他嘅屬性。
So this chapter also describes what happens when one leaves this body in the mode of goodness, what happens if he leaves in the mode of passion, what happens if he leaves in the mode of ignorance? Passion amongst the demigods, passion, fruit of those who are engaged in fruitive activities, mode of ignorance, those take birth in the animal kingdom.
咁喺呢個章節嚟講，都講到係處於唔同嘅形態嚟講人嚟講，譬如善形態嚟講係離開身體跟住點啦，善形態愚昧態啲。咁佢講到係善形態嚟講，會投生到天龍星宿嘅半神人啦；而激情態嚟講，會投生咗一啲功利性主義嘅人啦；而愚昧形態嚟講，會投生喺呢個動物王國嘅。
So the rest of these verses up to the 22nd verse, 21st verse, are basically just the same thing, describing the nature of goodness, describing the nature of passion, and describing the nature of ignorance.
咁跟住再陸續攞至到第22個詩節咧，都係講咗呢三種詩節善良形態、激情態、愚昧形態嘅一個進一步嘅一個描述。
So then Arjuna asks a question in text 21. My dear Lord, by which symptoms is one known to be who is transcendental to these modes? What is his behavior? And how does he transcend the modes in nature?
咁接住喺21個詩節咧，咁阿 Arjuna 就問 Krishna 喺度，佢話我親我嘅至尊主 Krishna 喺度，憑住咩嘅表現啊，我哋可以知道一個人已經係超越咗呢三種嘅屬性咧。佢嘅行為係點樣嘅咧？佢係點樣超越啲自然嘅屬性嘅咧
Okay. There's a similar question asked in the second chapter, text 54. Arjuna said, what are the symptoms? Because Krishna had gone through all these different symptoms of people who are engaged in the process of devotional service or living their life in Krishna consciousness. So Arjuna asked Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is merged in transcendence? How does he speak? What is his language? How does he sit? And how does he walk?
咁同樣咧，第二章第54個詩節嚟講咧，都係問到同一個問題。譬如阿朱人就問喺度問 Krishna， 佢話浸在喺你個超越意識形態中嘅人啊，有咩嘅表現咧？佢點樣係講嘢嘅咧？佢用咩嘅語言咧？呢個行為啊、舉止亦都係又係點樣嘅咧？
Okay. So Krishna says the same thing, the same answer for this one as the same answer for that one. Text 55 of chapter 2, Bhajad hak karma sarvapartha manogatim atmaneva manatusti Jita pragna tadochite. This is the verse I was trying to remember on Sunday, and I could only get managatim. So he says that when you want to translate? Use the translation for text 55 and 2, chapter 2.
Okay. 咁第55個詩節嚟講 ，Krishna 就俾咗個解釋嗰度。咁 Krishna 講話當人啊摒棄內心處虛構出嘅所有感官享樂嘅慾望時咧，佢嘅心咧就會係得到咗淨化。當佢只有係覺悟咗自己才感到滿足嘅時候，就可以説係有了純粹嘅超然嘅意識。
Oh, I don't think I gave the English, did I? Okay. The Supreme Personality of God had said, O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from mental concoction, and when the mind thus purified finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness.
至於聖神就説：阿爾塔啊，當人摒棄內心虛構出嘅所有感官享樂嘅慾望時，你嘅心就會得到淨化。當佢只有覺了自我才感到滿足時，就可以説他具有了純粹超然嘅意識。
And this was the same thing that I quoted on Sunday, that the same message is here, that one should engage oneself in the 24, chapter 6. One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon without exception all material desires born of mental speculation. So all these desires that will come up They are due to mental speculation. They're not actually, the source isn't actually our spiritual nature, our spirit soul. It's actually our spiritual soul covered by the modes of material nature.
咁呢度個其實亦都係有提到呢度嘅，就係當你係下定決心你喺做嘅時嚟講咧，就唔會受到呢個物質自然體個影響到㗎。佢話當呢個詩節就係6章第4嘅詩節講，佢話應該下定決心，信心堅定咁練習，而家咧就唔會係偏離呢一切喺度。
So Krishna tells Arjuna in a series of verses 22 through 25. And if I read them out, it's going to be very hard for everybody to remember. This is, when I'm reading these things out, I can't even remember what I said 3 verses ago, what to speak of those who are trying to listen. So basically what happens is that when we are in illumination and we are freed of detachment and we're freed of this illusion, then we become undisturbed. And that is the situation that we strive for. We want to have clarity of thought, which I brought up on Sunday. This clarity of thought, a moment of clarity, so we can perceive what is meant to do next, be done next.
就好似我星期日嚟講啦，講就係當我哋一個人被呢啲知識嘅照明嗰時講啦，我覺得好清晰嘅一個睇到嘢都好清晰嘅。我哋知道我哋嚟講，嚟跟住進一步嚟講咧，係跟住應該要點樣做。
Others do one more verse because everyone knows this verse. We can chant it together.
我哋做到個詩節，大家應該認識嘅詩節，或者我哋一齊唱誦呢個詩節。
Prakriti kriyamanani gunar karmani sarvasa. Text 27, chapter 3. Prakriti kriyamanani gunar karmani sarvasaha ahankara vibuddha mahakarta hamante manyate.
第3章27嘅詩節。
27, chapter 3.
第3篇第27詩節，第3章27詩節。
Oh, you read it? Oh, sorry. It seemed really short. The spirit, so bewildered by the influence of the false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities which are in actuality carried out by the 3 modes of material nature. So what? Okay.
仍未受假我嘅迷惑，以為自己係活動，我不知道其實係物質自然嘅3種屬性在活動。
We can talk on this a little bit.
我哋可以喺呢個詩節可以講多啲咁嘅。
We can just go through Prabhupada's purports for the next 2 verses, just to make it a little less verse. So Prabhupada explains that there's 2 people, one in Krishna consciousness and one in material consciousness. They're working in the same place. One may appear to be doing the same thing as the other one, but there's a gulf of difference between the person in Krishna consciousness and a person in material consciousness. Prabhupada uses the word, there's a wide gulf of difference between their respective positions.
咁呢度咧，拋要知就講到同有兩個人喺同一個地方工作嗰度啊。咁但係一個嚟講係有Krishna 知覺啦，而另一個嚟講有物質即係知覺嗰度，而兩個嚟講其實有天淵之別喺度。咁講到嚟講，究竟佢哋知有啲咩嘅天淵之別？
Does anybody ever experience, of course everybody's going to raise their hand, but that what Prabhupada says here, excuse me, my voice, that the person in material consciousness, they're convinced by their false ego that they are the doer of everything. I am the controller. I'm the one that's managing this whole thing.
咁大家有冇咁嘅體驗喺度咧？譬如當一個人處於物質知覺、意識知覺嚟講咧，咁佢覺得佢自己嚟講就係做嘅活動嘅主人嚟講，我係管理一切喺度，有啲咩嚟講咧，由我而係令到呢個事情係發生。
And this next verse is the one that is good. I mean, they're both good. This one explains the other one. Text 28, chapter 3. One who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, O mighty armed one, does not engage himself in the senses and sense gratification, knowing well the difference between devotion and work for fruitive results.
咁第28個詩節嚟講咧，解釋翻前面個詩節一啲嘢。咁佢嘅譯文係咁：俾你強大嘅人啊，了解絕對真理嘅人，因為深知妨礙活動和功利性活動嘅區別，所以不會放縱自己去追求感官享樂。
Did I read the translation?
Yes, you read it.
Okay. This is one of my favorite purports. The knower of absolute truth is convinced of their awkward position in material association. We have a very awkward position here. Okay. He knows that he is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and he knows that his position should not be in the material creation. He knows his real identity as part and parcel of the Supreme, who is blissful, eternal, and full of knowledge. And he realizes that somehow or another he's entrapped by material conception of life. That is imposed upon us by the modes of material nature.
要節阿巴佢好中意呢個要詞喺度嘅。咁呢個要詞就講：你了解絕對真理嘅人咧，確信自己喺物質世界中嘅處境係艱難，明白到自己係至尊型嘅神獸 Krishna 不可或缺嘅一部分，本不應該在物質創造中。他知道自己真正嘅身份係永恆、快樂、全知嘅至尊主不可缺少嘅一部分。
When we come to this point of this understanding that we're in a very awkward position, in our when we come to that point, even within this material body, we come to the point where we understand that everything's meant to be engaged or dovetailed in the service of the Supreme Lord.
咁當我哋明白到我哋咁一個艱難嘅處境嚟講，我明白到其實我哋喺呢個物質嘅一生嚟講，其實應該我哋所有嘢嚟講都係配合，係運用喺 Krishna 嘅奉獻服務當中。
Here's one of my favorite sentences. He therefore engages himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness and he becomes naturally unattached to the activities of the senses. We become detached from those activities of our senses. Prabhupada clarifies it right here, which are all circumstantial, by certain circumstances, by previous activities, and they're temporary.
咁呢個我好中意呢一句嚟講，都係我哋從事至尊主以前有關嘅活動嚟講，自然唔會再唔會再留戀次要而短暫嘅物質感官講感官活動嗰度。
And when that position, we actually consider everything that's happening to us as Krishna's mercy. I lost money, I gained money, I lost this, I gained this, this, the other thing. It's just all Krishna.
咁當我哋係明白到呢一點嘅時嚟講，我哋會係體會到無論我係得失又好，或者係唔見咗錢，或者話得到錢咁嚟講，咁其實都係 Krishna 嘅安排。
That's a way to become undisturbed in this world.
呢個嚟講就係我哋點樣可以做到喺物質世界嚟講唔受到呢個物質世界嘅一個干擾。
Any thoughts or questions? Let's just open it up a little bit.
OK， 咁有冇咩問題喺度啦？咁我哋可以係。
Please. Oh, ladies first.
Maharaj, I would like to understand the concept of chewing the chewed again with a better analogy.
Yeah. Well, chewing the chewed, chewing that which has already been chewed.
咁我正話呢個題目，我想再進一步了解。佢要譬如先講到話係再係咬咀嚼一啲已經食過嘅食物喺度，咁我就講喺呢段可以再講多些少。
I mean, there's several ways to understand this, because we are ourselves actually engaging in chewing that which we've already chewed and are trying to re-enjoy that stuff which we've already done and hasn't been successful.
咁其實咧，我哋可以從幾方面嚟講，可以係理解方面。好似講到話，我哋係咀嚼一啲已經係食過嘅食物，或者咀嚼過嘢嚟講，而想從中再揾到一啲嘅快樂或者味道嚟講，其實我哋已經係做過好多次嘅，同樣嘅嘢都係做過好多次。
And the nature of it is that we think this time it'll work.
而係問題，我哋係同我哋自己講嚟講，之前唔得，呢次我一定係得嘅，做到。
There's a saying that if you do something over and over again and you don't get the result, you're just a fool. If we just don't, yeah, do you understand? Yeah.
咁有時會俾我哋會聽過人哋講就話呢個長遠嚟講就係犯同樣嘅錯誤，做同樣嘅嘢嚟講咧，即使係唔好嘅錯嚟講，就係重複又再重複係咁樣犯錯就係做。
Prahlad Maharaj describes that chewing of the chewed, that we repeatedly try to squeeze out something that has no satisfaction in it. There's no taste in it.
就好似帕拉媽出係講到啦，我哋嘗試係咀嚼或者係想回味一啲嘢嚟講咧，係已經其實已經係冇晒味道嘅嘢，我哋想從中係想得到一啲嘅味樂、一啲快樂。
We become covered over by the modes of material nature, and we think this time it's going to be different.
咁而我哋受物質自然形態影響底下咧，我哋會自己講呢次嚟講呢個係得到做到。
It's a real challenge to free yourself from that.
其實一個真正嘅挑戰嚟㗎，要將自己係點樣去脫離呢啲咁嘅狀況。
Because what we do is we just like, okay, I did it like 59%. This time I'm going to do it 63%, and it's going to be completely different than it was before. You're only increasing it 4 points.
咁好似譬如我之前而家到59分喺度啦，咁呢次嚟講我做多啲去到65分、64分喺度，咁或者我比之前嚟講係多咗幾分，多咗4分。
In the West, we say we chew gum and then they spit it out and they re-chew the gum. It doesn't work.
咁就好似我西方嗰啲嚟講，就你喺個膠成之後，跟住係吐出嚟，跟住又再擺翻口，又再咬過。
When we were in school, somebody would always stick their used gum underneath the desk. It was always so gross.
咁你見到有啲人嚟講真係食完之後，你講佢黐喺個台底喺度，跟住又炒翻出嚟嘅。
Yeah, that's just chewing the chewed, you know.
呢就係咬完之後佢再嚼翻。
Sure.
My question is, Maharaji, this consciousness, mind, and soul, these are different or these are one and the same thing?
3 different separate things.
And they're related.
Consciousness is a symptom of the soul, and the mind is that which activates things. So consciousness, yata prakashya eka krishnam lokamadam rivai, just as the sun illuminates this world with energy or light, so the soul illuminates this body with consciousness. So whatever we see that has consciousness has a soul. And so there's a soul that has consciousness. And that consciousness, we have a material mind, but there's also a spiritual mind. We just have to get there.
咁講到講埋佢哋就個心意同埋嗰個意識知覺嚟講，究竟係咩回事？完全兩回事。咁個靈點解有意識知覺就好似個太陽嚟講咧，照住個大地喺度咧，咁個靈魂嚟講喺入邊身體，所以佢有意識知覺喺度啦。咁而個心意嚟講，即係呢個物質軀體入邊其中嗰個精微嘅部分嚟講係運作喺度，係同個靈魂嘅意識知覺係唔同喺度。
Anything else? Please, Mataji.
If you do good desires, if you do desires in mode of goodness, then what happens? It is cause no lamentation, and what it will cause?
Well, if you act, if you
咁啊，佢哋話即係我哋有好一個願望嘅慾望嗰時嚟講咧，咁我哋做好嘅慾望嚟講，會唔會帶嚟呢個傷痛或者悲傷嘅咧？
say you do something nice for somebody,
或者你做一啲好幫人做啲好事嘅幫人哋，
some kind of pious, kind activity,
或者一啲係善行嗰度。
then you're going to have to come back to have that person repay you for that kind, pious activity that you did.
但係你要翻返嚟呢個世界，接受翻你做個好事俾嗰人，接受翻係個回報俾你，回敬翻俾你。
Well, they can say nice guys. They always say nice guys finish first, but yes, please.
But it will not cause the lamentation.
Oh, the goodness. What causes the lamentation?
Material desires cause always lamentation
Huh.
sometimes, but good desires not cause the lamentation.
或者
But
欲望嚟
what
講，
it will cause?
Well,
或者欲望嚟講會帶嚟呢個悲傷度咧。咁究竟呢個善形態嚟講咧，會唔會帶來啲乜嘢？
I apologize. I'm not quite understanding, but if you have spiritual desires, then you may feel some lamentation in it because we don't engage strongly enough in the practice of Krishna consciousness, and you may lament that you're not, what's the word, fully active in what you can do. But in the spiritual desire to go back home, back to Godhead, to serve Krishna, to serve Prabhupada, to serve the devotees, there's no lamentation.
咁喺呢個靈性嘅一個欲望底下，好似譬如我哋有些少就係憂傷嚟講，擔心譬如我做得唔係咁好嘅話，我唔可以用我全力嚟講係服務泡泡、服務奉獻者、服務 Krishna 喺度。咁但係呢啲嚟講，全部係靈性方面嘢嚟嘅，係唔算係叫做咩個憂傷啊、悲傷啊。
Very difficult to become desireless, isn't it?
係冇空嚟講係冇欲望。
So, Maharaj, as when you said that in mode of goodness also you will be coming back. So, for example, if someone has a desire to do some charity work,
Yes.
now for charity work again it's in mode of goodness. And as you said, if we do it just thinking that it's a charity work and I want to do it, you have to come back to this material world to reap the fruits of those charity. But what if you think of Krishna, if one thinks of Krishna, that Krishna, you've given me this opportunity to serve the underprivileged and I'm doing it as an offering to you. Does that also cause us to come back and reap the fruits?
Sacrifice, acts of charity.
咁媽主要問嘅問題就係話，譬如你做到布施嚟講啦，咁你要嚟翻呢個即係實地界接受呢個善果嗰度。咁譬如當我係做布施時，我諗住係 Krishna 喺度嘅，係為 Krishna 嚟做嘅，咁我係咪應該要翻嚟要係接受翻呢個結果嘅咧？
Text number 20, chapter 17.
第17章22節。
Charity given out of duty, without any expectation of return, at the proper time and place to a worthy person is considered to be in the mode of goodness.
咁喺個善良形態嘅布施嚟講咧，喺合適嘅地方、合適嘅時間，而唔係要求任何嘅一個回報嚟講咧，呢個係屬於善良形態嘅布施。
In the Vedic literature, charity given to a person engaged in spiritual activities is recommended.
咁偉大經典嚟講咧，係推薦啲人係做一個呢個奉獻服務嘅人嚟講係布施俾佢係推薦嘅。
There is no recommendation for giving charity indiscriminately. Spiritual perfection is always a consideration. Therefore, charity is recommended to be given at a place of pilgrimage, or here on the lunar or solar eclipse, at the end of the month, or to a qualified Brahmana or Vaishnava or devotee in a temple. Such charity should be given without consideration of return. Charity to the poor is sometimes given out of compassion, but if a poor man is not worth giving charity to, then there is no spiritual advancement. In other words, indiscriminate charity is not recommended in the Vedic literature.
咁佢話做呢個布施嘅時講咧，其實係幫呢個人嚟講咧，希望能夠得到嘅靈性方面嗰個進步喺度。如果係冇牽涉啲靈性方面嘅進步嚟講，其實嗰個作用嘅唔係咁大喺度。
And Prabhupada, I mean, if you see somebody on the side of the street, you don't know what they're going to do with the money.
咁好似譬如有時喺街邊度見到有啲人嚟講係乞討喺度啦，你唔知道你俾咗錢你之後，佢啲錢係點樣用。
Most of the time they're in the mode of ignorance. They don't know how, people in the mode of ignorance don't know how to appreciate or how to utilize things.
咁大多數你啲係主義嘅形態人喺度，佢唔會欣賞你俾個就係布施俾佢啦，亦都唔知道錢應該係點樣用。
But Prabhupada would say, give them prasadam.
所以拋開建議嚟講，就俾你係祭業。
So there's some spiritual connection there. Just to give them something on a material level. We don't connect with that on a spiritual level.
因為你知唔知俾啲物質嘅嘢嚟講咧，係冇呢個靈性方面嘅聯繫喺度嘅。
I remember one time I was walking into the drugstore
咁有一次咧，我去過去藥房，
and there was a homeless person there.
咁有一個係無家可歸露宿者，
And he said, I really need some help.
咁佢講話我真係好需要人哋幫。
So I said, what do you need?
咁我就問你，你想我幫你啲乜嘢？你要
He said, if I had a toothbrush and toothpaste, I could at least brush my teeth.
咁跟住話我要牙膏嗰度啦，我要啲牙膏嚟刷牙嗰度。
So I gave it to him.
跟住我就俾
I went in and purchased it, came back out, know that he was only going to, what's he going to, he can't illicitly use a toothbrush and a tube of toothpaste. And he became, well, I'm dressed like this, he gets benefit. He gets benefit.
咁跟住我就俾咗支牙膏同埋牙刷喺度啦。我俾咗之後，即係我就入房就買咗，跟住就俾咗佢之後，跟住見到我咁樣打扮之嚟講，當佢咁樣得到呢方面嘅一個好似係得到益處嘅。
And I requested him to chant Hare Krishna.
我亦都係要求佢哋幫我 chant Hare Krishna。
And because I gave him the toothbrush and the toothpaste, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
跟住我因為我俾個牙膏牙刷之嚟講，我就講 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna。
Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada says that if one chants Hare Krishna one time, he should be understood to be one of many. This is an exalted soul.
咁正跑跑同巴里斯達德曾經講過到啦。咁當一個人如果係唱一次嘅 Hare Krishna 嚟講咧，咁呢啲人哋係一啲好崇高嘅靈魂嚟嘅。
And there's also the story
咁亦都有咁嘅故事。
when Bhaktisiddhanta took a pilgrimage to Vrindavan, I think it was Radhakund, that area, and his disciples weren't giving any charity to the beggars on the road, and he said, you should give them something.
咁有一次咧，係巴里斯達達咧就係帶隊去朝聖嗰度，咁去邊啦，好似去 Radhakund 咩啦。咁有一次有一個啲乞討啲就問佢個門徒佈施啦，咁樣門徒冇做，咁但係巴里斯達同佢講，佢哋應該要係佈施俾佢。
He has the potency. Understand? He has that potency too.
咁佢係叫佢咁樣做。
It's really hard seeing this stuff, India has it, America has it. I don't know, I haven't seen it so much here. But there's just widespread homelessness, just widespread. And they actually need medical, and they need a lot of medical help. They're just distorted upstairs.
咁佢話好似喺印度或者美國見到啲露宿者喺度咯。咁其實呢啲人需要啲係譬如係啲醫療方面嘅可能係都多啲嘅。
There was, when I was in high schools here, 1 block away is the YMCA.
咁我記得我
Where the kids used to hang out.
我響讀書嘅隔離嘅棟大嚟講就係 YMCA 嚟嘅。
So there's one homeless person, and be homeless in North Dakota where it gets 30, 40 below zero in the winter.
咁我就撞到一啲係咪露宿者咁都係為數唔少。
So he used to sit there, what we used to call in the old days, he was a wino. He just wanted to drink wine all day long. He was quite unclean and stuff like that.
咁嗰陣嚟講，個露宿者嚟講係唔係咁乾淨度啦，淨係成日想去飲酒啊，係咁喺度飲酒。
But we befriended him. Many of the students, we befriended him.
咁但係我哋好多同學嚟學生都同佢都好似當朋友咁。
And one time his brain just tilted. He was a certified public accountant.
哦，我原來係一個認證嘅一個會計師嚟嘅。
And his family owned like 10 sections of land outside of town. A section of land is a mile by a mile by a mile. So he owns 10 miles this way, 10 miles this way, 10 miles this way, and 10 miles this way. It's worth millions of dollars.
佢係好有錢喺度，佢省外邊嗰度咧擁有好大笪地喺度。
All he wanted was 25 cents for another bottle of wine.
咁佢就係話要係25仙錢。
Something gets misplaced upstairs.
佢可能個腦嗰方面嚟講係有錢。
And that's the nature of Kali Yuga. That's the nature of the world, especially in Kali Yuga. I mean, it's just brutal.
咁喺呢個世界嚟講，快到有啲人嚟講真係受到啲刺激或者障礙嚟搞整到傷。
In my opinion, the best way to give charity is to give charity through a spiritual organization that's actually improving the situation.
咁我覺得我建議嚟講應該係，譬如係做布施捐嚟講，俾啲靈性嘅一啲嘅團體喺度，希望嚟講係得到一啲幫助改善一啲嘢。
I'm getting a little late, but this one extra that misplaced compassion. If somebody breaks his arm and you have compassion and you take him to the hospital and you help him get it mended, but he's a thief. What is the value of that
咁有
compassion?
時我哋係錯用咗我哋嘅好心喺度，好似俾一個人嚟講整傷咗隻手就整親隻手，整斷隻手，跟住我帶去醫院嗰度係我能夠幫佢整翻啦，整翻隻手醫翻隻手喺度啦。咁但係原來呢個你係一個賊嚟嘅，咁你幫佢有咩用喺度咧？
So what is the value?
係冇價值。
Wait, Mataji?
When we do good for others, whom they are not Krishna consciousness person, what will it result? We do good for others who they are not Krishna consciousness person.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know much about Krishna.
Okay.
What will it result?
Well, first we have to just discuss what is good. What is good? We're just describing, giving the wino a quarter for a bottle of wine, or giving somebody compassion to fix his arm that got broken, but he's a thief and he goes and steals again once it's fixed. What is really good, Prabhupada said that what it really is that what a real ahimsa is knowing that we are spirit souls, part and parcel of Krishna, and the best charity work one can do is to give someone the opportunity to chant Hare Krishna, take some prasadam, hear the holy name, have some opportunity like this. And so there's a what would you say, responsibility that we have. We can help them. We can help them.
咁即係講話，譬如有啲人嚟講係冇 Krishna 知覺嗰度，咁我哋幫我哋講係究竟係點樣係幫咁挖住嗰度啊？我哋幫要真正嘅係幫嚟講，唔係話頭先講話呢個醉酒嚟酒鬼嚟講，俾多啲酒佢飲，或者一個人嚟講賊嚟講，你幫我醫翻隻手喺度，呢啲唔係真正幫我。真正幫我嚟講，就好似聖泡泡嚟講，就係俾劑魚佢食喺度啦，俾長蟲聖靈喺度啦。俾佢嚟講係認識到嚟講真正嘅叫係非暴力嚟講，認識佢自己嘅靈魂，唔係呢個物質身體喺度，呢啲先係真正嘅幫佢哋。
In the 5th chapter of the Gita, Krishna says, I assume no one's pious or sinful activities. This is brought about by the person themselves, by their actions. He doesn't get involved. He's not going to interfere with your free will. It's just not going to happen.
咁其實國家法第2章講到嚟講咧，譬如啲人嚟講，我哋有幾意做嚟講咧，我哋唔可以干擾佢哋係做佢哋嘅嘢。
Okay? We went a couple minutes over, and the conch shell is going to go off in a couple of seconds. So thank you all for coming.
多謝咁多位嘅嚟啦。
I hope that you find some value, just going over the different qualities of the different modes, just to remind us.
希望係我哋學識咗唔同嘅一個自然態嚟講啦，係當中嚟講係提醒我哋，同埋我哋係從中係學到一啲嘢。
And it's very advantageous for our spiritual life to try to create an environment of the mode of goodness, because that'll help us to understand Krishna.
因為喺靈修方面嚟講，如果我哋應該好好咁利用係處於個善形態喺度，點樣係幫助我哋係明白係多啲 Krishna。
So I pray we all receive the blessings of Srila Prabhupada. our entire disciplic succession, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai, Radhe Shyam. We find no impediments on our journey back to Sri Vrindavan Dham. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Yeah.
Guru Maharaj ki jai.